Studies in American Africanism is an investigation into two principal areas of discursive practice. One area involves the ways in which a non-white Africanist presence and persona was constructed in the United States. The second area involves the ways in which that fabricated presence served the literary imagination in its exploration of American identity. The course uses the terms Africanism and Africanist to suggest the mythic construct of a denotative and connotative blackness, and an entire range of views, assumptions, readings, and misreadings of African peoples and their descendants in this country. Africanism is also the process of alienizing and exoticizing one's own experience of Black people in order to know and therefore own that experience. Caveat: the course is not limited to an investigation of what might be called racist or non-racist literature. Nor does the course take or encourage a position that confines itself to measuring the quality of a work based on the attitudes of the author, or the representations he or she makes of another racial or ethnic group. Such judgments can and are being made in recent literary criticisms. For example, the critical scholarship of Ezra Pound, Louis Ferdinand Céline, George Jean Nathan, Paul Deman, etc. And we know books are constantly being banned from library shelves for these alleged attitudes or representations or sensibilities, regardless of past evaluations of the quality of the text. In fact, the argument has been advanced that, in the case of Paul Deman, say, or Mark Twain, the work can have no unmitigated quality precisely because the work, or in some cases not the work but the author, has been found to reveal insensitivity to ethnic, religious, sexual, or racial groups. However, although those judgments are within the reach of this course, they are not within its purview. One of the reasons the course does not close with analyses leading toward conclusions about a work's being racist or non-racist is that such an analysis can be an intellectual cul-de-sac. Once the evidence is in, there is nothing more to be said about the work. What we propose to do is a series of close readings of traditional American fiction in order to discover what impact notions of racial hierarchy, racial exclusion, and racial vulnerability and availability have had on the literature. We will describe and analyze how this literature has behaved in its encounter with racial ideology and discover in what ways the literature has been shaped by that encounter. Now, in order to do this, we will have to identify the instances during which American literature has been complicit in the development of racialism, and when it has intervened in racial discourse to undermine or explode it. But we will want to move beyond stark identification to the further investigation of what Africanism has meant for the work/product of the writer's imagination. How does literary utterance arrange itself when it tries to imagine an Africanistic other? What does the encounter with Africans and/or African Americans do to and for the work? How does one describe the rhetorical struggle that follows? Our study averts the gaze from the racialized object to the racialized subject, from the described and imagined to the describers and imaginers.